guys, Dr. Prometheus here, back with some more Warno here. We're playing a 2v2 on the Discord. Here we're coming up against Jovance, who's experimenting. Like, all of us are experimenting with decks in this game, but I thought it was just an interesting game to begin with. So all of us are kind of experimenting with new decks, kind of figuring out what we want to use from these. So Joe's playing with the 11th Division Parachutiste. Bus is playing with the Territorial Commando Sud. And then on our team, Bartok is playing with the KDA. And then we're playing with the Berliner Gruppierung. So a little bit of experiment. I don't play a lot with, well, I haven't played a lot of Warno, but I'm experimenting with this. We're having a Jaeger rush into Alpha. So we're pushing a bunch of Jaegers. We got some ATGMs coming up. They're going to be staged on this forward deployed here and this house. We're thinking if he pushes here, plus some T-55s cover the outside when they get there. Jaeger rush, Jaegers just in there. Strellas, so 2 Strellas staying in the back here, and then back we have 3 T-55s, and then we have our BMP-1K. It's going to come up, and we're going to reinforce this with an Mi-8 rocket. We're going to be on the right side. Bartok's going to be on the left. We also brought in 2 Mi-21s, and we're thinking if there's going to be a rush at us, I want to be able to counter that with bombers. So we're going to bring in 2 HE. Ultimately, I just strike whoever I see first, and that kind of is the deal. So let's get into this one. First type of idea with that rush that I've done, we're going to put some recon, everything. We're going to just stage a line here. So pushing across this field suicide. So if Bus wants to come down, he's going to have to come through the woods, come down this road, or come out in this opening. We're going to have tanks. On the flip side, we're just keeping our MiG-21 circling. And then we see these Milans all by themselves up top. So we are going to send our MiG-21s to hit those, because those could actually wreck Bartok's advance into the city. We come in. Good strike on the first one. He does panic it. The second Milan trying to fire. We're going to have this next one come in and hit it. And that will force those Milans to come back. And Bartok will follow it up with another MiG-27 hit. And the Milans look like they'll be down. We won't be able to see them, but they'll be down. Bus actually didn't push too far, just because of the sole fact that he knew he couldn't beat us here. So he set up around in this area, but it also meant that he didn't come at us. And I thought to myself, well, Bartok needs his flank covered from here, so we're going to immediately call in. Well, he's going to call in some more. This match is all about just ruling the air, and that's what me and Bartok did. We brought in nothing but air constantly, just hitting, just a new type of strategy I'm not used to with this. So another strike on this is the AML 90s. We're holding here. We're still a little disorganized, but finally we got the Fallschirm Jaegers out in the woods. There are T-55s out here. One thing this deck didn't have that I eventually put in it is actually this deck has no air issues, so like coming around the flanks and everything. So in reality, I should have, instead of putting 2 recon over here, I should have put some AA infantry in some key spots, like out here and out back here, more than anything. Another strike coming in. We're gonna hit the Paris 20 mil here, right behind it. We saw some tanks. Just hitting as much as we can. This Mi-8 is gonna take down this AML, and then we're gonna use this Mi-8 to deal with this Paris 20 mil that's harassing. It's shooting at Bartok's Mi-2, so it's just more than capable of just dealing with that. And we're just gonna rule the skies at this point. So we're holding from here, and I thought, well, we can't just leave this open and we can't let this exploit. So we're going to eventually move up and take this area here and just stall bus anything he pushes. We're going to get a cluster. We're going to get some more Mi-21s, and we are going to keep on striking in the air. And that's the biggest thing we did in this game is I felt like we had a good sense of everything in the air. Bartok just couldn't amass as effectively as he probably wanted to because of that early contact. But essentially, us not getting contact allowed us to really just invest in the aircraft and start pounding on the left side. And at the end of the day, that actually proves the fact of everything. And that's just with ours. Like, there was a game later on in the day that we did play with Bus where he did a great push, only because I wasn't really particularly ready for it. But in this one, I felt like we were pretty set up that if anything comes at us that isn't heavy, we can deal with, like heavy tank wise. And that's why the Mi-8's there to kind of stun. And some of the ATGMs. I did feel like we were a little weak, and so we're going to need some more armor to come up. But I also noticed this road here is the reinforcement road, and we want to force them to start using this road to come around, which is a little bit longer, which could allow us to actually have a bit more time. So Bartok's going to move his T-62s over here on the left. We're going to push up and probe Bus, see what he has over here. We still don't get any contact here. And normally I would typically get pressed here. I asked Bartok to put a helo over here. I think he eventually does, but not before Bus is able to get some stuff around. And that's why I say I should probably have, at this point, brought in a couple of AA, put one like here, like back here, of one of the trees here, of one in here, and like one over here, and literally just hold this entire spot here with the preventing helos from coming around. Joe's pretty good with his artillery. That's the biggest thing that Joe succeeds at more than anything. And he likes to rain down artillery, and he does a good job of it. Waiting for all these aircraft to come back up. We start seeing some of the artillery back here. T-62 making sure that Joe can't come on the outside. And we finally see Bus. So our Aufklär, seeing the green berets, our T-55 is going to start hitting this. I didn't notice the T-55 has good angles all the way out here. And so this is a good spot for them. I think we eventually put like some ATGMs and another tank like right here to cover this long angle. So here's an SU-22 coming in for an anti-tank run. We lost vision of the tank, so I just circle it back here behind the lines. So I see something. And I see this VLRA. So thinking to myself, we're going to hit that VLRA. We're going to bring it in. Here comes the run. We hit it. It doesn't respond. Bunch of man pads coming out, and well, this SU-22 would have went down if it actually, if he had, well, it does go down. We're gonna bring in the Mi-21s. We're gonna start striking some of their artillery. So here's the first one down. So good shot there, and we're gonna turn over, and luckily Bus doesn't have anything. And the next one's going to go over, and we're going to try to strike that. We're going to take a right turn over the area of Bus. So we start pressing this, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not a smart idea. This T-55 gets hit. Finally, that aircraft goes down. We're going to put this T-80 up here, but I stall it back so we can just get long distance range. This Aufklär is going to move back. This T-55 is going to actually cover this. I think to myself, there's no point in holding that. Probably just hold this area instead. As we are still bombing, and this time it's Jaguars. MiG-23 comes in, trying to get it, gets the front one, but not the rear one. And it goes down. I think to myself, we'll probably need some more. And don't worry, I don't forget this is here. I eventually move it up. I'm terrible with that. We're going to get this ATGM and we're going to put it in this space here. Since our Jaegers have taken that. T-80 is just going to keep on covering this off clear to come back. We lost the one on the right. This Jaeger is going to hold here in this building. I think it's technically a building. Yes, a set of buildings. We're going to bring up our MI8 just to hold in case he wants to counter push. It's there because I saw these M48s back here, which isn't going to do much against, say, a T-80. But, hey, a side shot can still take down a T-80 like that. To this point, other than the Spetsnaz OP, Bartok doesn't have anything in the city, and Joe's doing a pretty good job of holding it. Artillery coming in on the T-80. We're going to eventually move that back. We're going to get in a proper anti-air with the Buk. It's going to come in. We're going to get some more T-55s. Some more, this time, an actual BRM-1 coming in. Some more Strelas. Get the supply up and some T-55s. Another T-55. We're going to place them out here and just hold this position. ATGM going in this house here. Maybe we can cut down this field itself if anything comes across. Unfortunately, the better field is likely, the better one is likely this one, but it kind of exposes us a little bit more. The Conqueror's here taking a shot, kind of wasting it on the P4 there. Infantry let off in that area. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe like this needs to be out here. I did not notice that. Hey, this little ring right here that people would normally skirt purposely the outside of the map, and I can't see that. So there's that issue. UAS goes the wrong way out here. Does get taken down. Not sure what it is there. Looks like maybe tanks. Nope, it's a sniper SAS. So we'll probably take some shots at the ATGM. We're going to bring in a Conquerors. We have the other Buk coming in, so we're going to have two. Bartok going to take the left flank. Extreme out here. And all the fighting generally happens in this map, in this area. We were able to pretty much stagnate anything that Bus would have ever put in there. We just forced it to funnel into here instead. Bus going to bring in an F4. Going to come in. It's going to hit this ATGM. Almost kill it. But a couple of shots come in. And ultimately it gets taken down by the Buk here. This one's going to end up coming back here. So we're going to have two ultimately back here. Good spread. We have the Strela back here as well. Semi-8 is going to come up in this area. We start seeing the SAS, the Paris SAS. We're going to see this. The Milan comes up and it's going to get hit and killed. Good recon by the off-clear. And T-55 and T-80 back here. And this T-55 start getting hit by a 20 mil out of these trees. You can just about see it. So we're going to pull that MI8 back. And that kind of puts the ATGM on an island. So we're going to put this Conquerors on the right. And we're going to put this BMP over here to see if we can deal with this Paris SAS. And we'll pull the Jaegers out as well. Bunch of bombs coming in on the left. And we are raining hell in that city. So we did lose that ATGM here. The Jaegers are gonna close within the Separatists Paris, which is not a smart deal. MI8's gonna have to stand by back here. We're gonna bring in a T-55. We're gonna bring in these ones. We're gonna make a line over here so we make sure nothing pushes across this without us allowing it. Now, this ATGM can see it, but the best thing with this is there's a little crease in here where we can have like a T-80 with its tank gun hit anything that crosses in this open field. Another big push here of air, and we just light it up in this area. So the bunch of minstrels in here, but great strikes. We did lose, I think, 2 aircraft out of that, or maybe 1. But we're still putting it down and we're still doing work. So bus doesn't really push us over here. We're gonna put another Jaeger out at this point to kind of support this T-55. We don't want to leave it on an island. And here comes Bartok with a bunch of motor shoots in and BTR. He's gonna shove it right in the city. Good mortars there by Joe coming in. Bartok's moving this, motor shoots in on the flank. Just trying to get some good stuff here for him. We're gonna put these T-55s ultimately in this area so we can see this. Now here's another one. Put it just in range of this road. So essentially anything that comes down this road and it flashes into this area is going to get side shot by this T-55. And here it comes. This T-55 forcing everything to come either down this road or die through this road. And that was a good one. We end up putting another T-55 like right here, which allows us to hit anything on the back end as well. And we just hold that. Bring in a T-90 to hold this position, or not a T-90, a T-80 to hold this position here so we can shoot in that gap and kind of hold. They're going to have some air come in as Mirage 5. Coming in with HE, it's going to put it right in the middle of the city. Does take out 1 unit, looks like, but just damages the rest, and that gets away. Here's a T-55 coming in. Here's the T-80 we're going to put right here. It's a good shot. This ATGMs are even longer, but really it's all about these this guns. We ended up moving it up here though, so it has good line of sight. Here's the T-55. Start hitting the flank. Start hitting these that are trying to come in the city. This T-55 did us proud in this position. At this point, more planes coming in. MiG-27, we see this. Ultimately, we bring this Mi-24 back because bus is hitting us with a UH-1. So we end up pulling an Mi-24 back here to deal with this. Bus putting a couple more units in there. And Bartok pretty much holds this city. So this T-80, we put one right here because we needed to actually refill it with fuel. This is the one that I think we first called. We're gonna have 2 T-55s right here now instead, in case they come across this. We put a T-80 here because I want to be able to see anything that comes in this area. This T-55 can also hold as well, so we have a good inflow fire of anything that comes through this portion with the T-55 here, and this T-55, and then ultimately an ATGM that's put right here. We pretty much locked down this side, which shouldn't have been the case. Now Joe's trying to get a good position to deal with this T-55, but he's just not able to do it, and we're just holding and helping Bartok. This T-55 is just doing work here. Legionnaire Pass comes up. Specialized GRU is there, and then there is the T-80s just blasting that. So Milan 2 is going to start shooting at the T-80. I am going to ultimately smoke it, but I don't think it matters. I think we ultimately are going to lose this at this point. We just don't hit it. We hit it just as it hits, but unfortunately that's lost. T-80 though doesn't need to finish that because the Fallschirmjägers come in. The Paris SAS getting hit from the T-80. We're going to bring in a T-55 now. We have two T-55s on the left here, and they are just raining hell on anything Joe takes down this. And so now it forces them to play in this sector and allows Bartok to pretty much run unopposed in this rear, which did help. So here is a napalm strike. Gonna come in. We're gonna come in with, well, actually Bartok's gonna come in with an HE strike, and that's gonna just hit down. No big deal. It's gonna hit here actually. We're gonna pull up a couple infantry portions. So this Fallschirmjäger, we're gonna pull this up to secure our flank here. We're gonna pull this BMP up here. And we're gonna pull this with the Waschutzen. We're gonna pull this in this area as well and kind of clean out this and make sure our flank's secure. But let's just start collectively collecting for a push, or at least to support Joe over here. And it gave us enough time. I think if Bus would have actually hit us more directly, we wouldn't have had this issue, I don't think. I mean, I felt comfortable since we have this to just help out with the other point. So I didn't feel like I had to like push through this to get to this last point. I felt like if I could just hold this and give Bartok some support, like here's a rush here, he's gonna pull in a MiG-27 HE, and I'm gonna pull even more in. This one's gonna come in and hit that 20 mil. We hit the supply with that one. This one comes in and we hit, I don't know what we hit with that one. This cluster comes in and it's gonna come out here. I think it ultimately misses the infantry there. Oh, this one hadn't dropped yet, and then we sent it home. That's what ultimately happened. So it's not down yet, but they do just artillery strike it to get it done with. Now here's Bartok with those T-62s on the flank. We're pushing out this separate Potus because we just have a bunch of anti-air. I'm not sure what took that down. We have two books back here. Got some OSAs. Like, we had a lot of anti-air. So another good hit from the T-80. In that space, you can see that. We're gonna push him out to the next tree line. T-80 has an extra 100-meter range. This T-55 is gonna go to the edge of the forest just to see what's out there, and we see this Conqueror's there and gets a side shot. Or not the Conqueror's, but the it's an A2GM. We'll see what it is. I think it's a Milan. Ultimately. So we're gonna move the Fallschirmjägers up here to see what it is. We're gonna keep moving this infantry up. This T-62's hits, and it's a Milan 2 para. And the Jaegers will easily be able to force it out of the woods, where this T-80 can get a shot on it if it can see it. Sniper SAS coming in is gonna hit the Conquerors here. We're gonna pull this T-55 because of that up to here and make sure there's nothing in this space that could take it. I was gonna move the T-80 up there, but I thought to myself, well, T-55 is good for our first line. We'll just bring up another T-55. We'll have this T-80. If they push across this T-80 is a reserve that can deal with anything pushed, but so we're kind of waiting at this point. 5 minutes to kind of tick from here. We're holding this. Joe's trying to secure his flank so at least he can come down this road, and it's just not going to work. I think he was also afraid that we would exploit this gap in here, and we were going to eventually move up, brought up a T-64 VV, but this thing is ATGMs and tank gunner just goes to T90 or T80. What do I call it? Keep on calling it T90. The T80. So the BV is just going to sit right here, force everything to be over here or over here. So Pelshamaniki and Mashutsin is going to be holding here. We're pretty much set. They did strike our depot here. We came out with a BM-27 because I just wanted one shot with it. Not a big deal. So big strike coming in. Bunch of clusters. HE from Bartok. And essentially, we were just taking down his AA, so we had more and more areas to kind of just hold. Mi-24 is going to come up. I'm really starting to figure out how you're supposed to use your units. It's taken me a while, but I finally figured it out. So this Mi-24 is going to take a shot. It's stunned now. This shot is going to kill one of Joe's tanks. So the ERC. So Joe's trying to at least get something here. T-55 is going to sit against the Sagade and die. So I thought to myself, hey, we're fine. We have some rockets here. Joe's trying to just secure his flank. This T-80 though can see anything that pops through that forest. We're gonna pull in this T-55 though. It's gonna come up here. It's gonna start shooting on that ERC-90. We're gonna pull this BMPs up in here just to take this. The T-55 takes down the Sagate. We're gonna come in with a napalm back here. We're gonna strike. That's a good one there. Just a lot of aircraft coming in at this point. We had it going. Good ATGM. At least force them to fall back. More. There's a Su-22 with a cluster. On buses, M48s. 3 of them go down. This is why air is important. So bus is trying to come out on the flanks here. Bartok's gonna use an Mi-24 over here. Deal with that. Not a big deal. At this point, we don't have any supply depots. We're gonna bring in. We're gonna finally fire this BM-27 once, and we're gonna see how this goes. Aircraft's gonna come in. The cluster. And it's going to hit. Well, it hasn't released yet. I see this back here with some more AA. And so we think to ourselves, we're going to strike this. We get one of them. But the aircraft goes down. Rockets hitting this advance, this road. It's the only real road they can use. Killing infantry there. And that's really the end of that. They do counter battery fire. I do need to do try to move it, but it's kind of whatever from there. Ultimately, what I've started doing as well is having one self-propelled card on counter battery, and then having one for literally shots. So maybe we shoot once or twice, we move it, which forces counter battery to fire, which allows me to counter battery them, if that makes sense. So kind of just to bait that. We're pretty much a lull until we're going to bring in a bunch more aircraft. Here it comes. HE coming in. It's that. Another HE heading around here. We're going to use the AT. Going to take a couple shots, and that's going to land. So pretty good one. We were kind of concentrating on the AA, which is pretty good. T-80. Now we got another one to see those the trees, the forest there. And this T-80 is just going to sit back and have a ball. So this city's been wrecked. It's just nothing but wreckage at this point. Hilo goes down. And that will be your victory. So with that, kind of a first rush, first one I did with that, and kind of refining the deck. I do like the deck. My biggest thing is I've never, particularly in, say, Wargame, all the years that I've played it on and off, I never had a good Red 4 deck. And I feel like I'm making a good Red 4 deck with this. So in case we ever want to go sweaty, stuff like that, then we really have a deck that we can use. But kind of just refining it where I have one Red 4, one Blue 4 deck that we want to go crazy with anything in particular we can. Otherwise, just have fun type deal. So what we had here, the SU-22, the cluster, took out a VLRA 20 mil and an ERC. This MIA took out Paris 20 mil. That's big. This MiG-21 took out another Paris 20 mil. This AT took out VLRA. This MiG-21 took out that mortar unit and 2 anti-air. This one was a mortar unit, so we did get 2. T-80 with the Green Berets, that was our push up. Kind of looking through. Nothing crazy. That was the 2 that attacked us from behind. This Jaeger killed 2 Milan 2s. This T-80, Paris SAS, Sniper SAS. This SU-22 took out another mortar. Okay. T-55, those are the ones that I think were side-shotting. This T-64 was side-shotting as well. Took out another anti-air there. So, and collectively, how much did we take down? So, anti-air wise. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We took down 8 cards. 8 units of infantry. Our losses, not much because we didn't push a whole lot. We just held what we had. Nothing crazy. And yeah, it was a good game. So thank y'all for joining me. Go and leave a like below, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Later.